Hello and welcome to this overview and gameplay of Dehaka on the PTR. To start things off, we're just going to briefly go over his skills and talents. To start with, we'll start with his mount. He can't use a regular mount. Instead, he has an ability called Brush Stalker, which allows him to burrow to any bush on the battleground after a short delay, about 1 second. And then 1 second emerge time. But this isn't limited by any range. You can burrow to every bush on the battleground. Once the gates drop at the very beginning, you can't do it before the gates drop. Just like fly or deep tunnel, stuff like that. But it's very useful to switch lanes, to gank, to come back in after hearthing. It can be very versatile. The cooldown isn't too long. 40 seconds is longer than most skills, but as far as the ability goes, you can use it pretty much most of the time when you need it. It's very fun to use too. I'd say that's his defining skill, is Brush Stalker. And then we'll get to his basic abilities. His trait is called Essence Collection. Every time a enemy hero or enemy minion dies near him, he'll gain essence. And what happens is he gains 10 essence from hero takedowns and 2 essence from enemy minions. And he can hold up to a maximum of 50 essence at one time. And once he has essence stored, he can activate it, and you consume all of his stored essence, no matter what the number is, and that will heal him for a certain amount over a period of 5 seconds. This is really handy because if you can build up a store of 50 essence, it gives you essentially another half of a health bar, as long as you're proactive with using it to heal. It's quite good in a prolonged team fight. If you get takedowns, you'll build up more essence as the enemy dies, and you can continue to sustain through it. It can be hard to build up essence if you're not actively seeking out minion waves, so a lot of the time you're going to be brush stalkering to lanes just to clear a few waves to get the essence so that you can go into a fight with more sustain. So pretty basic. It's just a heal. You get your heal by killing things, and then you activate it and it heals you over time. Next is his first skill, Drag. It's a 1.75 second stun. It's I'd say a long cooldown. 15 seconds is not exactly short. And the range is somewhat small, and there's a bit of a delay when you cast it. But the unique thing to this stun is that it hits the first enemy unit, including minions. But whatever gets hit is dragged to you and continues to be dragged by you for the stun duration, which is 1.75 seconds. This can be used to move people away from their team, or displace them into another skill from your team, let's say like a flame strike or a gravity bomb, stuff like that. Or you could drag them into a mosh pit, things like that. It's pretty powerful as far as stun goes. It's one of the longer basic stuns in the game. But of course, while you're dragging people, you're connected to them, so they'll be right next to you once the stun ends. So it can be a double-edged sword if you pull somebody dangerous to you and you don't have the ability to fight them off afterwards. His second skill is Dark Swarm. It causes a damage over time effect to any enemies near him. I say damage over time, but it's really just every half second they take 1 tick of damage for half the stated amount. And it deals double damage to heroes. So to minions, every half second it would deal 30 damage, but to heroes it would deal 60 damage every half second. So it does that for 3 seconds. And it has a relatively short cooldown of 9 seconds, and is the mana cost is the lowest of his skills. And a unique thing about this skill is that it lets Dehaka move through any units without being blocked by them. So you can use it to move past if people are trying to body block you. You can use it to move through enemies if you're trying to get to somebody specific. Or you could, for instance, use it to escape from Nazeebo's zombie wall. That can't block you if you use Dark Swarm. That's just a unique interaction with another hero. But overall, you're going to be using it mostly as an AoE damage skill. It's good for clearing waves, which you need to fuel your trait of Essence Collection. His third skill is Burrow. It's a 20-second cooldown, so it's pretty long, the longest of his basic skills. But what it does is it causes Dehaka to enter stasis and become invulnerable for 2 seconds. And he does this by burrowing into the ground. You can't interrupt this ability and make it end early, so you always have to be burrowed for 2 seconds. And can't move from that location, so you're always stuck in the ground at the spot you cast it from for 2 seconds. And you think this wouldn't be all that good, but it's essentially a basic ability of Ice Block, and you can use it sort of like that. You can use it to interrupt enemy abilities. You can use it to end debuffs on yourself. You can use it to avoid skill shots. Or you can use it in combination with your trait to pop the heal, and since it's a heal over time of 5 seconds, you pop the trait, burrow, or you burrow and then pop the trait, because you can cast Dark Swarm and Essence Collection during burrow. But that'll let you do some things while you're burrowed and invulnerable. So it takes a bit of getting used to figure out when exactly you want to burrow, because sometimes it'll just be like a self-stun for 2 seconds that lets the enemy get on top of you. And it can be, again, a double-edged sword, sort of like Drag. So his 2 heroics, the first one is Isolation. Probably the easier to use heroic. It has the lower cooldown as well. It's only 60 seconds as far as cooldown goes, so it's pretty short compared to a lot of big ultimates, but this one can be quite useful. What it does is it's a short-range skill shot, sort of like Drag, with a bit more range, and it goes over minions, but it silences and slows the first enemy hero it hits by 30%. Or, well, it slows them by 30%, but it silences them, too, for 3 seconds. And while that's going on, for 6 seconds, including the silence and slow, they have their vision reduced to a very small radius around themselves. So basically, they have to be right next to somebody to see them, and they can't see either allies or enemy heroes. It's essentially putting the fog of war all around them, and they can't see until the 6 seconds are up. So this can be useful if you, for instance, catch a slippery hero with lots of escapes. They're silenced for 3 seconds and they're slowed. If you hit the enemy's healer, they can't see their own allies to heal them, so it sort of removes them from the fight for a little bit. And the cooldown's quite short, so you can oftentimes just use it for a gank on a solo hero, and it'll be ready for the next team fight. The thing is, it has a bit of a delay when you cast it, and the range is not huge, so it can be easy to miss. That's pretty common. I miss this all the time. But it's a very powerful ability if you do hit it, so you can oftentimes secure kills with it. Or even just escape by putting it on somebody that's going to kill you. I'd say this is the easier to use skill, and it has the shorter cooldown, so you can cast it more often. But his other heroic is Adaptation. It has a longer cooldown, slightly less mana cost. But what it does is after 5 seconds, you heal for 60% of the damage you took during that 5 seconds. And what this means is that it gives you essentially another way to heal, like Essence Collection. It gives you more sustain in a fight. The problem is it's based on how much damage you take, and if you die while it's going on and hasn't healed you yet, you lose out completely. So it's hard to gauge exactly when to use it. But also, it's based on how much health you have at the time you cast it. Because if you cast it when you have, let's say, 20% of your HP, you're only going to get healed for a very small amount, even if you tank as much as possible. But if you pop it when you're at a full health bar, and then you take a ton of damage, and 5 seconds pass, and then you get healed back up, it can be quite powerful. Unlike Essence Collection, the heal does not happen over time. It's an instant heal. So after 5 seconds, whatever healing stored up, it instantly applies it. And like Essence Collection, it does heal you during Burrow. So oftentimes you'll pop adaptation, then take a bunch of damage, and to ensure that the heal hits you, you burrow just to extend the time. So it's 5 seconds, and you can become invulnerable for 2 seconds. Essentially, you only need to stay alive for 3 seconds. So those are his skills. We'll take a brief overview of his talents. Level 1, Enduring Storm is not good, don't take this talent. But he has 3 pretty good talents. They often determine what his later talents will be because you want to complement them. The first one's Primal Aggression. Causes Dark Swarm to deal 100% bonus damage to minions and mercenaries, which makes it just do the exact same amount of damage it does to heroes. It's great for wave clear. If you're on a small map where you aren't going to be collecting a ton of essence, or you think the map is going to end before you're going to collect 500 essence, which is what these abilities require to get their full value, then Primal Aggression makes sense. It gives you the ability to clear out waves much faster. The second choice is Enhanced Agility. A lot of people will say that this is the only choice at level 1. You have to take Enhanced Agility. And that's because it gives him up to a 15% movement speed boost in the mid to late game. Which movement speed always is good because it's hard to get movement speed in the game. And if you are faster than your opponent, you can run away from them, or you can run up and chase them. And it's all quite good to be faster than the enemy. For instance, that's why Lunara has her base movement speed so high and no mount. This gives you almost as much movement speed as Lunara. So it's whenever you collect 50 essence, and this isn't to say you need to collect a full stack of 50 essence, it actually just keeps track of all the essence you've collected. And essentially it's counting to 500 how many essence you've collected. And every time you hit the 50 mark, it gives you an increment of movement speed. So very useful, good for a bruiser build. It will influence a lot of your later talents if you take this. The same with Tissue Regeneration, which is the last choice, where the same as Enhanced Agility, as you collect 50 essence, you get more and more health regen. And you get up to 50 health regen when you collect the max amount. And this is good for a more tanky build, because at max regen, you're essentially regenerating 100 HP every 2 seconds, compared to the other talents. So let's say over a 10-second fight, you suddenly have 500 more HP. That's like 2 auto attacks. So it lets you sustain more throughout a fight. And it also lets you split push a bit more. If your health is low and people are coming to gank you, you'll regen over time. It's probably less useful overall than Enhanced Agility, but if you're going for the tank build, Tissue Regeneration is probably what you want. And it can be quite powerful. For level 4, I think all of these skills are good. I think this one comes down to personal preference. Personally, I choose Numbing Eruption because it's really good against melee heroes, and it makes you harder to keep a hold of, because if you use the burrow effectively, you can displace people with the knockback, and the slow prevents them from chasing you or running away or whatever. The 2 Essence Collection talents are pretty good, depending on your level 1 talent and the map especially. If you don't think you're going to be able to get enough essence otherwise, then take one of these. Lurker Strain's okay. It gives you burrow. It gives you stealth during burrow. The first 2 seconds are always going to be invulnerable and in the ground, so it gives you 3 seconds of stealth afterwards. But you'll be revealed by AoE, so it's, like I said, personal choice. I go with Numbing Eruption most of the time. For level 7, this is another important talent tier. It's sort of based on your level 1 talent. Essence of Devour is not good. Don't take this talent. For the other talents, I'd say that these 3 are all good. I'd say Constriction is probably lagging behind the other 2 because they reduce your cooldowns. For the tanky tissue regeneration build, I'd say Feeding Frenzy is the better choice because you'll often be standing and attacking people, and having more drags means more stuns, displacing people more, and being more useful to the team. Symbiosis is probably the bruiser build, especially with agility, because it lets you run down people with your advanced move speed. And every time you hit a hero, this says every time you damage an enemy hero, and what it means is every enemy hero reduces the cooldown by 0.5 seconds for every tick. So if you hit 2 heroes at once, it'll reduce it by 1 second. If you hit 5 heroes, it'll reduce it by 2.5 seconds, the cooldown I mean. And that's per tick. So if you hit 2 heroes for the full duration of Dark Swarm, it'll already be off cooldown by the time it ends. So it can be very powerful for the bruiser build. For his heroics, I already talked about them. I'd say the tanking option is adaptation. So if you go for tissue regeneration, a lot of times you'll go for adaptation. The isolation is just the all-around build. It's good for the bruiser. I'd say better than adaptation for the bruiser build. Whoops. For level 13, this is a strange talent level. It has some anti-synergy with a couple of skills. Or it has anti-synergy with one skill in particular. So Swift Pursuit. It says increases your movement speed by 20% while in a bush. But what it actually does is it bumps it up to 120% movement speed while in a bush. And since your enhanced agility already puts you up to 115% movement speed, this is not a big increase. So if you take enhanced agility, don't take Swift Pursuit. But for a tissue regeneration and primal aggression build, I think this is perfectly reasonable, depending on the map. If there are lots of bushes, then yeah, take it. But if there aren't a lot of bushes, then of course don't take it. Ferocious Stalker is really good if you are planning to take Apex Predator at level 20, which reduces the Brush Stalker cooldown, because it gives you a burst of move speed right as you exit the Brush Stalker animation, and it decays over 3 seconds, so you're not getting 60% for 3 seconds, but the initial burst movement speed allows you to run up to somebody and oftentimes get to your target who you want to drag, and then you'll be right on top of them. So it's good for a ganking build. The bruiser who takes isolation, a lot of times you won't take the isolation upgrade, so Ferocious Stalker will be the choice. Whirling Dervish is good if you have Symbiosis, because it allows you to cast it more and more. This is Dehaka's version of Relentless. It's not as good as Relentless because it only applies while you're Dark... It says Dark Storm right there, but it's actually Dark Storm. It only applies while Dark Storm is active. So it has synergy with Symbiosis, and it can be good in the tanking build, but you have to know that it only applies while your Dark Swarm is active. So a lot of the times you'll just take one of the move speed talents. For level 16, all of these choices are good. I'd say Paralyzing Enzymes probably beats out the other two just barely, because the 50% slow for 2 seconds, it doesn't decay. It's a 50% slow for a full 2 seconds. That can cause a lot of problems for your drag target. Either if they're chasing somebody and you're using drag to peel, or you're using drag to gank and pull somebody out of position, the slow will keep them from running away. And it can be very, very powerful. The second choice is Elongated Tongue. And drag has a pretty short range to begin with, so increasing the range by 20% is nice. But since it has a short base range, 20% is not a huge difference, but it is noticeable. And if you're having trouble getting to your target because they're just putting just enough space between you, elongated tug can do a lot of work. Rapid regeneration, you wouldn't think this is that good, but it heals you for about a total of 9% of your health over 2 seconds during your burrow. And since the only thing, as far as I know, that can interrupt a burrow is Zagara's Maw, this can be a great way to sustain in a fight. If you're going for a tank build, rapid regeneration sometimes makes sense. And you obviously aren't going to be burrowing that much over a fight. Maybe you'll get 2 off in a fight if you're lucky. But that's, 18% of your max HP you didn't have before. So it can be useful. For his level 20 talent, the most obvious choice is Apex Predator, which reduces Brush Stalker cooldown by 30 seconds and the cast time by 0.5 seconds. So effectively the cooldown is 10 seconds and the cast time is 0.5 seconds. This gives your Brush Stalker a lot more use because you can cast it so much more often. You can split push more effectively. You can show up to fights more often. It's very, very powerful, and it doesn't have a lot of competition. I don't think Hardened Shield is very good. If you're going for a tanking build, I think Change's Survival makes a lot of sense because the increase is over double the healing of the regular adaptation. Adaptation is 60% and this is 125. So this makes it so that your starting health, as you take more and more damage, even if you're not at max HP, you can still gain more HP than you're taking. Whereas adaptation regularly, you have to have a high health bar to make use of it. But the last upgrade is Contagion for isolation. I think this is a very situational talent. If you have a team ready to take advantage of it, for instance, some way to group the enemy, like Gazlo with Gravel Bomb at 20, or a Mosh Pit from ETC, or Slaughterhouse from the Butcher, those all make sense to take Contagion with, because it's an extra disable to layer on top of those. But like I said, it's a hard to hit skill shot, and oftentimes you're going to be using it to kill solo heroes. And even if you're not doing that, and you want to use it on multiple heroes, they have to be clumped up, and it can be hard to find the opportunity for it. So a lot of times, if you take isolation, I'd say just take Apex Predator. If you take adaptation, there's a choice to be made. It's really your call, depending on how the game's going. Okay, let's get into a quick match game. Like I said before, these are quick matches on the PTR, so can't really rely on matchmaking to give you like superb quality games, but the teams will be balanced with quick match rules. So in this case, they have a tank, we have a tank, and the team compositions are similar. So I like to use the blue mecha skin because I believe that tint is better than the yellow tint, and better than even the black tint that you get for level 8. That's why I like to use this.
The battle begins in
For my level 1 talent,
seconds.
this is going to be a bruiser game, and I'm going to take enhanced agility at level 1.
4, 3.
And the reason for that is I saw the Dehaka on the other team took tissue regeneration, so I wanted to take the opposite skill. I like to test out the different builds and see how they compare. So a lot of times if there's an enemy Dehaka and he takes a certain level 1 talent, I'll take the opposite, just to test it out. So I didn't brush stalker to a lane this time, because I was planning to just show on lane and then brush stalker to a different lane for a gank. That was my reasoning anyway. Here I see a lone Sylvanas, so I feel pretty safe in going up in Darkstorm this wave. And then it turns out there was an Illidan lying in wait. I go for the drag, but I kind of miss it. I do something that you're going to see me do a lot, which is I take a bunch of damage, and then I hearth back immediately and then brush that crowd. I think this is one of the biggest parts of Dehaka's skill set, is to be able to do that. Because of your global presence with Brush Stalker, you can use your hearth as a heal instead of relying on the fountain to do the healing for you. And here, I burrowed through that Gazlo's Explodium. I was hoping to bait the Gazlo a bit, but I ended up baiting my own KT. Oh, here. That sound you hear is when an enemy Dehaka is brush stackering up, so I heard it, and I immediately knew what was happening, so I moved away from the bush. But because I had a bunch of stored essence, I was able to sort of stand and fight. A lot of times I don't want to waste my essence if I can help it, but in this case I was worried about dying, so I just popped it right away. And as you saw, the burrow that the Dehaka did, it really telegraphs when you're going to pop out. Not only does it have a little duration thing underneath, but you can also just mentally count out 2 seconds. And so I time my drag to when it ends, and we get the stun, and then the tyke is finished off. Here I again heard the Dehaka brush stackering up, so that's why I moved in that direction. Because I was pretty sure he came from this bush and not this one up here. I clear a wave, I head back to try to touch the fountain to get some healing and then go towards that tribute, but I see another wave coming and I don't quite have full essence, so I go to take it a bit more. At this point, I was just about to hearth and then brush stacker back out as my brush stacker comes off cooldown, but I saw that my teammate Gazlo was going towards the fight and not going to get this XP, and since I didn't quite have full essence yet, I decided to stick around and clear one last wave before hearthing. So my team was not able to stop that tribute, but it's okay. At this point, I was trying to brush stacker in to help my team with skirmish down here, but I was a bit too late. I wasn't able to do much, but thanks to the KT we get a bit of harass on the Illidan, and it forces them to hearth back. But I've already wasted my brush stacker, so I'm sort of stuck down here for a short time. But our archer minions end up getting that tower for me. That was nice. And I finally have a full stack of essence.
Shall we see who gathers
So this makes me a bit more tanky, and I feel more confident in using up my HP. Here an Illidan comes at me. I pop Dark Storm right away to make sure he can't body block me. And I waited till he keeps hitting me near the tower, and I use my drag to pull him into tower range. Does about half his health and damage, and I lose about the same amount of HP. But because I have Brush Stacker, I just hearth back, completely negate that damage, and then Brush Stacker in to this tribute fight. So that Gazlo was really low and just walked into me with Darkstorm. And I saved my drag because I want to use it to protect the KT if the Illidan keeps diving him, but seeing me come close, the Illidan backs off. And again, I still have 50 essence, so I'm very prepared to run into the fight. Here, I start to chase down this Sylvanas. I just wanted to see if maybe she was going to hearth in this bush. But as it turns out, she actually just ran around and haunting waved over the cliff. My enhanced agility hasn't started paying off yet. I'm only at about 3%. And my brush stacker was on cooldown, so I couldn't really do much else there. But I wanted to check to make sure she wasn't doing. So I see this push happening top with just our lone Gazlo here. I decided to brush stacker up to see if I can get anything done with him. The Sylvanas shows up, and I try to get a drag on her, but I get stunned in the middle of my animation and it interrupts me. So I'm forced to pop all my essence to sort of mitigate the damage that I just tanked. Nothing much happens. The Illidan comes up as well, and we posture a bit with the enemy team, but nothing of note happens. I hear the Dehaka brush stackering again, and I walk into the nearby bush to see if he was trying to come at me, but it turns out he was just moving to the lane like I was. He just happened to have brush stacker off cooldown while I didn't. So here, I use my drag to try to get some harassment in, because I know that his brush doctor is on cooldown since I just heard him. And then I use my burrow to avoid his dark swarm. I brush doctor up here, and I run the Gazlo down with my dark swarm, the Illidan's help. And then I combo with the Gazlo's Explodium charge by dragging and holding the Illidan inside the radius. Oh, I haven't exactly talked about my talents, but at level 4 I took Numbing Eruption. Like I said, I really like that skill, especially against an Illidan and Dehaka. It's very powerful, because they really want to get up close and personal, and the Numbing Eruption makes it hard for them to do that. At level 7, I took Symbiosis, because like I said, that's really good for the bruiser build. You can just run people down, and the cooldown gets shorter and shorter. So after Hearthing, I see that this lane's empty bottom, so I brush Stalker down here. Right as the enemy Dehaka gets his ultimate. Oh, I took Isolation because I'm not tanking this game. Here, I go for the Isolation on the enemy, and of course I miss it. I end up getting Isolation myself, and I couldn't exactly see it, but the enemy Illidan hunted my Illidan and took him out. I go for a drag to try to pull the Dehaka into my tower range, but can't quite make it. I was forced to pop my essence there before I burrowed, because those heroes would have killed me otherwise, but I keep wanting to Hearth to refill my mana, but because there are more and more minion waves coming, and I don't have a full stack of essence, I keep sticking around. Here, the Tychus was actually in a ton of trouble. He had 4 heroes on him. He ends up getting Wailing Arrowed as well. And my team isn't really in a position to contest that tribute, so we have to let it go. But like I said, Isolation's a skill shot. It's pretty easy to miss. In this case, I wanted to Isolation the Gazlo. Unfortunately, I end up hitting the Illidan instead, and then instead of following up with a drag on the Illidan, I go for the drag on the Gazlo instead, and I end up just hitting him in. So that was a misplay by me. Here, I was expecting the Gazlo to run away, but actually, both Illidan and Gazlo just stayed right out of vision range. So my Brush Sucker ends up being wasted, and I just use it to take the watchtower. But that ends up working out because the tribute spawns down here. Here I heard the Dehaka, so I'm pretty sure he came in this bush up here, because the KT was standing in that bush. I get hit with the Isolation. I see the Dehaka burrow himself, and I guess when it's going to end, and I just time my drag with that. I was forced to pop my own essence there, because I was afraid of the Dehaka hitting me with a drag and then dark swarming to get the kill. And I try to flank that Gazlo after he gets pyroblasted, but nothing happening. Oh, and here, I get silenced. I just barely escaped that stun from the KT. And I don't quite have enough essence to stand in a fight. Here, that KT, I think he missed a kill on me there. I think if he had just auto-attacked twice, I would have died.
Excellent.
But I think he was scared of the Gazlo's turrets. So I'm waiting for my Brush Stalker to come off cooldown before I can head back into the fight. Their Dehaka gets a pretty quick kill on our Gazlo. Here I'm very worried for my Tychus. I want him to retreat, but he doesn't, and then of course he gets hunted. And of course I missed both my drag and my Isolation. So I was trying to preempt the Illidan from killing the Tychus, but I wasn't able to do so. So I end up missing both skill shots. So we get the curse, and I see the Sylvanas taking the watchtower I've already taken. And I have a bit of essence stored up, but I decided to run at him and do what I can. My KT comes up and sort of delivers the finishing blow with the Living Bomb, but he ends up dying himself to a Pyroblast. So here I make a mistake and I start Hearthing forgetting that the Sylvanas had already taken that watchtower. And then I realized that I've been flanked by the Dehaka, so I use my burrow to escape the living bomb damage, and it actually ends up dodging his drag as well, which was really convenient. And then, using Dark Swarm, I clear the minion wave, I fog them for just half a second, which is long enough for me to brush Stalker away. As you can see, I was getting hunted right at the end there, so that enhanced agility really paid off. I have almost 10%, which is when you start really outspeeding the enemy.
Of 10,000 years.
So this curse is going pretty well. We're getting a lot of XP in this gigantic push going top.
And so the curse
I see that Illidan's really low, and I'm hoping I can catch him as he walks back to his tower. But as it turns out, he stops, attacks the turret, and then just gets hit by an isolation. So. The enemy Dehaka is caught out with me on the other side of him, and we get a bonus kill there. So again, I hearth back with my Brush Stalker up. I get a refill on my mana, and I Brush Stalker back to the boss to help my team take it. Here, I see the Gazlowe on the minimap, as we can see, and he starts walking towards the bruiser. I thought for sure he knew we were bossing, and he was just going to walk up at us, but it turns out they were all just doing the bruiser king, and they had no idea we were bossing. So we end up getting a free boss, and then our Illidan goes up here to clear the wave. I think maybe he wanted to push with the boss. I warned him that it's dangerous because I think he's going to get hunted. And it turns out he gets hunted, and then he dies to 5 heroes. So I think that was kind of expected. Maybe he was trying to push with the boss, but without the team with him, I think that was really dangerous for him to do. So while the enemy's dealing with the boss we just took, I kind of want to take the other boss, and then we'll push with that one. But the problem is that boss dies faster than I was hoping. It actually doesn't accomplish very much. So I Brush Stalker down to this boss, and I see that our Gazlowe is going to take these bruisers, and I realize that's a much better idea, so I go to help him. Because I realize that the enemy's going to think we're bossing, and they're going to come and check. And if you're doing a boss when they check, it's often bad news. So the enemy's all here. I end up getting silenced, as well as hit with a living bomb. But just barely able to pop my essence and burrow before I die. Because I'd been storing the 50 essence for just such an occasion. So here, I'm getting ready to hearth back, but I see my Gazlowe in a bit of trouble. I go to peel for him, and I end up getting isolation. I go down to see if I can help with anything else. I find the Gazlowe, catch him with just the tail end of a drag, and we're able to secure the kill. So again, I hearth back. And then I go to Brush Stalker towards the tribute. And it turns out the enemy Dehaka had the exact same plan. I was pretty sure I could win this fight because I saw him waste the burrow like he did. And I got my dragon and Dark Swarm before he did. So I was thinking that I could probably win this fight. But then the KT comes in and I'm forced to burrow to avoid the stun. And the Sylvanas comes in as well. She starts chasing me, so I hit her with the isolation. I'm just about to hearth. But as she starts running towards me, I realize that I can just drag her because she can't see me. And we end up getting a kill. So I hearth back again.
Untouchable. Just
in time for my Brush Stalker to come up cooldown. Oh, I again forgot to talk about my talents. For level... That was pretty funny. I actually burrowed in, hoping to chase down the KT. But he actually decided to hearth in that brush just as I started stalking there. That was really convenient. But anyway. So I took isolation, and like I said, if you take isolation, you're probably going to take Apex Predator at 20, so I decided to go with Ferocious Stalker. because, like I said, there's a lot of synergy between the two. And then for level 16, I went with Paralyzing Enzymes, because as far as the Bruiser build goes, I like to apply the slow, and I prefer to get Paralyzing Enzymes or Rapid Regeneration. I think Elongated Tongue is a good talent, but I don't particularly like it myself. I think if you like it, it makes a lot of sense to get it. If you can use it effectively, then of course go for it. But I went for Paralyzing Enzymes because the slow is actually quite powerful. And I wasn't doing a lot of tanking for my team, so I didn't want Rapid Regeneration. So here, I tanked the boss for my team, because I did get Apex Predator. And even though I just Brush Stalker down there, I can just Hearth back and already come out with another Brush Stalker. I go to flank this Gazlo, but my team's already on top of him and take him out pretty easily. So since we have this boss, and our Gazlo's preventing them from getting a curse, we're just about to start pushing with this boss. And we have just a very slight lead in levels, but it's enough to get us our Storm talents while they don't have theirs. This is a really good timing attack. I have a full stack of Essence as well as my Burrow, so I'm trying to be the first one in. But my Illidan goes in. Oh, it was a bit hard to see, but that Illidan stood right in front of me and he was just about to hunt my Illidan, and I just hit him with an isolation mid-cast, and he got blown up, which I thought was really funny.
Hero of the storm.
Oh, we just heard the announcer say, but I got Hero of the Storm this round. I actually went 0 deaths, and as is pretty standard in a lot of my Dehaka games, I end up with the most XP contribution on my team. In this case, I got the most in the game. But that's a lot of it has to do with the way I go to absorb waves in between fights, because I really want the essence.
Victory.
Not only for extra sustain, but also because it helps my level 1 talent. In this case, enhanced agility. It helps me to get a full stack of it. The rest of my stats were okay. I did pretty good on hero damage. Just slightly lower than the biggest ones on my team, and slightly more than the biggest dealer on their team. And we can see that my tanking was comparable to the enemy Dehaka, and he also had the most XP on his team. But I ended with 0 deaths, as well as participated in 21 takedowns. So, pretty good game overall. And that was a good bruiser showcase. I think if you take enhanced agility, you're sort of putting yourself into the bruiser role, and Symbiosis and Ferocious Stalker and Apex Predator and Isolation are really good talents to synergize with it. We're going to go into the next game, and this is going to be the tank build. And I've seen a bunch of people talk about how enhanced agility is a required talent for Dehaka, and I just don't think that's the case. I think there are variety of builds that you can do,
Battle begins shortly, heroes.
and you're not exactly pigeonholed into doing it. So here, again, we have the blue mecha skin. I think that's just the best one overall of Dehaka skins. And it has really cool animations for his talents, or not for his talents, for his skills.
The gates shall open in 10 seconds.
Here I went into this game wanting to do the tank build, but then when we got into it,
5,
I thought maybe the
4,
bruiser build would have more
3,
value, since we had a Muradin
1.
on the team.
Let
But
the
then I
battle
looked and I saw that
begin.
the Dehaka took enhanced agility, so I decided to be contrary to him and take tissue regeneration instead. So here I did Brush Stalker immediately to a lane. I think it's really personal preference if you do that or not. Either way, it's going to be off cooldown by the time you want to switch or Hearth back, so I think you're free to do whatever you want. So here, I want to Dark Swarm this wave, and then I was trying to go for the drag on the Sylvanas, but the enemy Dehaka was ready for it, and he dragged me in the middle of it. And I end up getting dragged into tower range. So here I'm copying quite a bit of harass, but since it's just these two and the Dehaka just uses drag, I'm not overly concerned. Here I'm keeping an eye on the Dehaka and watching for the drag, which I end up dodging. So after he's used his drag already, I feel pretty safe. I see people disappear from top for a second, that's why I kind of moved backwards. But it ends up that they were just, I don't know, attacking the wall maybe? It just went out of vision for a second. But so here, I'm finally ready to leave the lane now that I've collected a bit of essence. I see my Sylvanas is having a bit of trouble top, so I brush stuck her up here to help her out. I put a bit of damage on the Asmodan. I go for the long range drag, which maybe was a bit too greedy. I end up catching a minion right as it comes out. But here the enemy Asmodan is, I don't know, really not respecting my hero. And he just comes up. And right as he casts the laser is when I use my burrow, which is what I was waiting for to cast it. Because the burrow does interrupt the laser. And it's oftentimes one of the best uses is to dodge skills that are channeled. So here, I see my KT coming up, so I get into a bit of a fight with the Asmodan. I get the drag, and it secures the kill. I finally have a full stack of essence, so I'm really not scared of this KT. I end up burrowing to avoid the flame strike, although I think it wouldn't have hit me anyway. But that wave gets cleared, and being low on HP and mana, I hearth again. My brush stacker's up. I'm checking down here because I thought I saw KT, and I did end up seeing him. And it turns out that he sticks around just a bit too long, and I'm able to get the drag and finish the kill. So right there, our Sylvanas got rooted with the enemy Dehaka. They ended up getting the kill on her. So here it's just me and Muradin. Our KT had to go tap the fountain. So we don't quite have the damage to deal with these guys. And I just used my essence, so I don't have any left stored up. But I'm trying to stay in the fight for my team, do what I can. Here I see the Asmodan getting the laser off, so I go for the drag to stop it. And having cast all my skills and seeing that I'm out of essence, I originally decided to hearth, but then looking at the minimap I see a big wave mid, and I realized that I could probably take this without being contested, and then I can hearth afterwards and then brush stacker back to the fight. Instead of hearthing and then brush stackering to the lane to get essence, I can just do it the opposite way. Also for talents, at level 4, again I took Numbing Eruption, because like I said, I really like that talent. I take that almost every time. But for level 7, because I'm going for the tank build with Tissue Regeneration, I decided to go for Feeding Frenzy. Which, like I said, synergizes more with the tank build than with the Bruiser build, and Symbiosis synergizes more with the Bruiser build than the tank build. So here, I go for the drag, and unfortunately, due to my Dark Swarm, I end up passing through the KT and go down, and he ends up just running up away from my team. So here I'm forced to pop my burrow as well as my essence. I use the burrow to escape from some of the living bomb damage, and the Numbing Eruption pushes the Sylvanas and the Illidan away. So here I'm a bit worried because my essence is low and my burrow's on cooldown. But I see the Sylvanas went bottom, and as my burrow comes off cooldown, I'm not exactly scared of the Illidan anymore, so I decided to try to absorb one last wave of minions.
But don't get too comfortable.
And thanks to my Tissue Regeneration, I'm actually regenning quite a bit. We can see I'm only up to 10. At this point, I'd rather be up to 15 if I could. But I've been participating in a bit of fights more than collecting essence. But there's there's a real noticeable difference between when you take tissue regeneration and when you take enhanced agility. You can definitely see your HP regen a lot more. But here, I'm doing my best to absorb waves, get more essence.
Nicely.
I don't exactly want to stand in range of the tower because Dehaka, he's very hard to kill, but he doesn't have an escape. So it's important to be mindful of where you're going. So here the KT gets stunned, and I get an easy drag because he's already stunned. There's like basically no way to miss that. Just secure the kill. So here, I'm again just collecting more essence. The Garden Terror's gonna do his thing, and I see this wave pushing top. I decide to go and soak more and more essence. Like I said, I really want to get more health regen. I'm only at 20 at this point. I feel like I should be at 25. I think that's if you get about half of your stacks by the time you get your ultimate, I think that's you doing really well. But I'm just slightly behind. So we can look at the map. Our Gazzo's actually doing the same thing. He's absorbing waves as well. And here the Garden Terror comes up here. I figure somebody's going to come from this direction to try to stop it. So I lie in wait. I end up catching the KT out. I really wasn't expecting to get that kill. I thought for sure his team would be right behind him. But he ended up being just completely alone, and my Muradin was there to help me secure the kill. So that was nice. I see another wave mid. Like I said, I really want to get more and more essence for my tissue regeneration. As well as just the XP. I see this Illidan low bottom. I go for the stock. I think if I hit the drag right away, I maybe could have caught him, but I was trying to get into a better position. But of course, right then the minion wave comes by, and the Dehaka goes to block my drag anyway. Oh, I haven't said it yet, but I did take adaptation for the ultimate. I think if you're going for the tank build, it makes a lot of sense to take adaptation. Here I was just checking to see if the Illidan had decided to go for the siege camp. But of course he went to heal instead. But I have a full stack of 50 essence, so I'm really not scared to face check things like that. I catch the Sylvanas and stun her during her wave, and I end up getting quite a bit of damage in. But she had just touched the fountain, so she ends up healing through a lot of it, but it was quite a bit of damage. So here, I try to get this Illidan kill, but like I said, there's a bit of a delay. Oh, here, I cast my adaptation for the very first time. It ends up doing quite a bit of healing, actually. And then I pop my essence afterwards. And unfortunately, I have to use my drag right at the end there to secure the kill on Asmodee. I was actually trying to save it so that I could stun somebody else. But I just barely couldn't get him without it, so I had to use it. But, so my Feeding Frenzy was what allowed me to cast that drag, though. I tried to drag the Illidan, but I wasn't quite able to get him because the range is kind of low and there's a bit of a delay on the cast. But because of my Feeding Frenzy and adaptation, I was able to stand there and auto-attack to reduce the cooldown enough so that I could use it. And I ended up securing the Asmodee kill, but unfortunately we lost 2 heroes. 4 in trade. I wanted to absorb more essence, which is why I brush stackered top, but seeing that nobody was taking these seeds, I decided to do it myself, and then I go to help out my team with taking this tear. Since we're so close to a Garden Tear. And since we're already up here, I ping for us to take down this fort, because I see that it's about half HP. And I know that if we do that, I can get another wave of essence. So the Sylvanas shows up, which allows us to take it with ease. And since we take a free fort, I see there's a wave mid, and I go to absorb it, but then seeing that this bruiser camp was occupied, and since I have an ultimate ready and some essence, I go to check it out, and it turns out it's just a lone Illidan, kind of low. So I go to stop him. We actually end up stealing the camp. Murden comes to help me out too. So the Murden ends up paying for it with his life, and to avenge him, I go and chase down this Asmodan, use my final drag to hit him, and I'm able to secure the kill. Here I still have my essence as well as my adaptation, so I'm really not scared of this Illidan. So I turn to man fight him.
Well done, hero.
But I end up using my essence, of course. I try to absorb this wave with the bruisers to protect me. But I think I've finally overstayed my welcome, and I go to Hearth back so that I can go help my team defend the garden turret. I didn't end up using my adaptation there. I think I probably could have used it at some point, but like I said, it's hard to determine when it's time to use it. It's definitely the hardest skill to use out of adaptation and isolation. Here, I go for a drag and I completely whiff, which gives the Sylvanas time to run. I go to flank her and she ends up going that way, and then I figured she'd probably do what she did, so I ended up going the other direction. She misses her wailing arrow, which I thought was funny, and then I actually didn't kill her there because I thought my Dark Swarm was going to get the last hit. And cool eyes don't look at explosions, but it turns out she actually would have gotten away if the Murden wasn't there to finish her off. So he sort of made up for my mistakes of missing that drag and then sort of letting her live. Oh, for my 13 talent, I took Swift Pursuit. So like I said, it has anti-synergy with enhanced agility. But if you're going for the tissue regeneration, I think it makes perfect sense if the map has a lot of bushes, which Garden of Terror does. It has a lot of bushes all over the map, and you're oftentimes fighting with them. So I think it makes a lot of sense to take that skill. For level 16, I'm going to take Paralyzing Enzymes.
The night comes, heroes.
Yeah, I just took it.
Remember,
I was trying to decide between that and Rapid Regeneration, but I realized that the enemy team does not have a lot of escapes. Sylvanas is really the only one who has an actual escape, while Illidan's just kind of hard to kill. So I figured the extra slow would help us secure a lot more kills than me having more sustain. I don't know for sure that it was the right choice, but it's the one I made in the moment. Obviously there's no point lamenting once you've picked it. There's no way to unpick it. So I come to help my team take out this terror after I first deck her top to get more essence. As you can see, I'm getting kind of close to a full stack. I'm still a bit behind. I'd rather be at 40 than 35 right now. This Dehaka graciously stuns himself with Burrow, so that we can all get in position to kill him. And that gives me just enough essence to get up to 40 stacks. Or 40 HP regen. Like that's 8 stacks.
And take its power.
The world is upside down.
So I still have adaptation and I have full essence. So I'm looking for a fight.
Your terror has come to life.
But my team isn't with me, so I just go to take a wave and push the lane. Because I want the enemy to be pulled bottom while our Garden Terror does its own one. Here I see the Illidan running away. I try to cut him off, and I know for a fact that's going to force him up, because he's going to see me walk in front of the tower, but actually it doesn't. He just dives onto my team and dies. I think if he had run up, he may have escaped, or he would have been chased for a long time.
That seems personal.
Here I tank a lot of damage, and I noticed too late that my KT is getting beat on by the enemy terror, and I don't get there quite enough time to peel for him. But as we can see, my regen is up to 45 now. It's actually regenning quite a bit. I've tanked a lot of damage, and without having to pop my essence or my adaptation, I'm already regenerating tons of health. Every second, I'm getting about 1% of my max HP. I use my drag to sort of stop that Garden Terror from running, but because of my Feeding Frenzy, I'm able to get another one just in time to kill that Sylvanas. I was just about to hearth, and I noticed there was a wave below me, and I really want to finish off my stacks, so I go for it. And it turns out it was just enough. I finally finished my region quest. So I hearthed back here. I think maybe I should have just Brush Doctored it to start, but I wanted them. So here I did take a change of survival. I end up getting silenced right away, so I can't pop the adaptation like I wanted to. But I do have essence stored up, so I use that instead. I get the drag on the Illidan, and then this Dehaka drags me, and he actually walks into a Gazlo stun. So here, I just got a bunch of essence from those takedowns, as well as the minions that were there. And I still have adaptation, so I just run at these heroes. I use Burrow to escape from that living bomb damage. And I end up just walking away fine. But I still need to collect more essence so that I can get a full stack. Brush Doctor. We're gonna see that the enemy Dehaka ends up taking Apex Predator. I think that's the smart choice. He took Isolation and Enhanced Agility. But he ends up taking a talent that I really dislike. He took, where is it? He took Essence Devourer, which I just think is terrible. I think that talent is awful overall. But also, I think Symbiosis just makes so much more sense. So here, I have my adaptation and 50 essence, so I feel safe running at these heroes. And I'm trying to help my Muradin out. So here, I actually get silenced. I'm forced to pop my essence because I can't see what's going on, so I don't know if adaptation is worth it. And my KT ends up dying. There, Dehaka uses Apex Predator, like I said. Here, I use adaptation to try to tank through this, and it ends up keeping me alive at least. But we lose our Gazlo and then trade for their Dehaka. Oh, this actually hearthed when they could see me, which is why that KT ran up and flame strike where he did. So that was a bit of a mistake by me. But here, I'm pretty sure that I can actually just get this kill on KT. And that drag, I was so surprised that hit, but it completely secured the kill. So I'm actually worried about this Asmodan globe. So what I try to do is juke him by heading back, but I end up just running into him again, and I die to that globe. But in retrospect, what I should have done is use Brush Stalker to leave the area and then hearth. But I was being too greedy and I wanted to hearth and then Brush Stalker back. So it ends up costing me my life. That was actually my first death. We can take a look at the stats. I have more hero damage, but less damage taken than the enemy Dehaka, which I think is backwards. I don't know why that's going on.
The sun dawns.
But I am topping the XP contribution.
For now.
And my hero damage is pretty respectable. And I was in a bunch of takedowns. I actually have the most last hits on my team right now. So I'm securing a lot of takedowns.
The terror shall
but I don't think I'm casting adaptation as much as I could be. I think my instinct is to save it because it's such a long cooldown. So here, I'm out of essence and I see this wave top, so I decided to Brush Stalker there. I just happened to run into this Asmodan. I really wasn't expecting this guy there, but I see he's without mana, so I go for the drag, and then this KT shows up, so I pop adaptation right away. And I end up getting about half a health bar back. But he pyroblasts me, and I've just run out of essence, so I decided to make my retreat. But you could see the slows doing a lot of work there. The paralyzing enzymes as well as the numbing eruption, they really prevented them from chasing me very far. So I finally get to do what I wanted to do, which is absorb essence. Oh, here, I feel like this Sylvanas made a mistake. If she had just like started attacking this Dehaka instead of trying to finish the hearth, I think with the KT's help and mine, we could have gotten the kill. I think it was a mistake to do what she did. But so, I only have 20 essence and no ultimate right here, so this is a bit dangerous. I'm just following my Gazlo. I'm trying to keep him from dying.
Having trouble?
I run at the heroes because I know the drag's on a cooldown. Here, I try to get the Regen Globe for my team, but I end up auto-attacking one minion too many. I get dragged. Without my ultimate, it's just too much. I take too much. I end up baiting my team into dying as well. That was just a big misplay from me. And as we can see, I didn't participate in any takedowns since then. But my damage taken has gone up. But I've started losing the XP contribution battle. So the mistake was to engage as hard as I did without a full essence stack and without my adaptation. And I think actually I popped my essence a bit late compared to when I burrowed. I think if I'd popped it as I burrowed, I maybe could have lived a bit longer. But to be honest, I thought it was bad anyway. Oh, also, I want to say that I think the enemy Dehaka is not taking as much advantage of Apex Predator as he should be. Because a lot of the wave lanes are pushing to his side of the map. What he should be doing is using Brush Stucker to clear those waves out, get a bunch of essence, and then go back to the fight. Here, a Brush Stucker down. I was hoping to prevent that camp from being taken, but it turns out the Illidan was already taking it, so being a waste. I don't have any essence, so I want to stop and take this wave if I can. But I see my team starts getting in big trouble. I come down to help, and I'm just way too late. The enemy is all there, and we already lost our Muradin, so I have to back off. I start heading bottom to sort of clear out the wave, as well as get a bunch of essence if I can. But because we lost 3 heroes, we're kind of we have to give up these seeds. Oh, I dragged the Sea Shine into tower range, which I thought was a good play. I'm getting closer to a full stack of essence, and I do have my ultimate. So I'm ready for a fight once my team is up. But I don't exactly want to have a repeat of my last death, where I just die. Maybe it was the first death. So that bit of extra move speed from the Swift Pursuit is helping me in that situation. Because this is mainly where I wanted to use it, was around these garden terrors. We end up getting rid of this terror from hunting our stuff. Actually has a full minute left on the timer, but they cancel it early. I don't know if that was the right choice. But so I do have a full stack of essence as well as my adaptation. I get the drag on the Sylvanas. I popped my adaptation here, hoping to run through damage, but the enemy actually backs off a bit, so I end up not needing it. But I do have my essence as well. So I'm able to think through the fight.
More
And we
fertilizer.
stack a bunch of disables onto the Murd, or not onto the Murd, onto the Illidan, and then we end up getting a few takedowns. The KT came in at the end and died there. So we got a 3-for-0 trade, which was really good. We kind of lost our lead with a few of those fights before, and that sort of put us back into it. So I used my brush stacker to go get more essence, as I had to use it during that fight. And I'm almost at a full stack. Oh, did I mess up the, I must have.
Overwhelm these mercenaries.
I see my team is mid, and I know that the enemy is about to spawn, so they're probably going to spawn the Terror. So I call for us to take the camps before that happens. And it turns out we start doing them just in time. We're able to cap them before the Terror spawns. Well, not cap them, but we're able to start them before the Terror spawns, and then cap them. Seeing the enemy Terror going top, I decided to head bottom to try to draw somebody down to attack me, and then I'll just escape and brush stacker to my team. But as it turns out, my team was lying in wait, using me as bait. But it does have the desired effect of drawing people to us, and then our Muradin goes to solo defend the group. This KT gets double ulted and dies to a Pyroblast, and there's nothing I can do there. Once the Pyroblast has been cast, you can't really save people as Dehaka. I get stunned here, but I do have a bunch of Essence as well as Adaptation, so I pop both. And I use Burrow to make sure it heals me. But unfortunately, our Muradin is dealing with the Garden Terror, and we already lost the KT. And you might not have seen it, but the Sylvanas took like more than half of her health. Got lost from just like one Asmodan globe. So there was no way she could stand and fight. So even though I finally got a good use of my adaptation, it ended up not working out. So here, our team is trying to protect the siege. And Muradin comes in with a nice haymaker on the Dehaka, and he punts him right into this turret that slows him down, and we end up getting a takedown there. And he goes ham and just dives into a bunch of heroes, and just walks away. So that was a pretty baller Muradin play. I saw this Illidan. I figured if he stopped to Hearth right here, I'd get the kill, but if not, it was close enough to where I wanted to go that I wasn't really losing anything by brush stackering there. But seeing that he's not there, I just go to help my team, and then we get the seeds. So it turns out they got 3 takedowns without my help at all, and because of that we end up getting both Garden Terrors. And I'm calling for core with Terror, like right now. I think if this guy had just grabbed him right as he spawned, and then we all ran to the core, we would have gotten there before Sylvanas and KT spawned. But unfortunately, my team wants to take this Terror, and to get the seeds. And we end up losing a bunch of HP on the Gazlo. We end up wasting a bit of time too, so maybe it was wrong of me to call for the core push, because looking at it now, I don't know that the Garden Terror could have reached their core in time. But the way we delayed and the way our Gazlo took a bunch of damage, I think did not help the case. So we're finally here. The Garden Terror actually misuses the bot, and it's not in range of the core. But I still have my adaptation ulti. I don't have a lot of essence, which is a problem, but I'm still trying to tank for my team with adaptation. I pop adaptation a little late here, but it does end up healing me for quite a bit. Unfortunately, we lose a few heroes in exchange for their KT. I run at that Sylvanas just to scare her back, because I was just concerned she was just going to turn on me. But as we could see, all my skills were on cooldown. It was really just posturing on my part. I brushed stuck her top to try to get more essence, but I was kind of worried that the enemy Dehaka would brush stuck her after me, and I was too low to escape from him, so I'm really glad I didn't do that. But like I said, I don't feel like he's using Apex Predator to its fullest potential. Here, I'm telling Armored to stay in the Terror for as long as he can, because it'll give the next Terror more time to spawn, and it'll let our team spawn and get into position for our next Terror spawn. So here I get about half a stack of essence, and seeing the enemy was mid, I brush stuck into this camp to see if they're taking it, and since nobody's here, and I have my team right next to me, I feel pretty safe doing this. So we take the siege.
You've collected enough seeds.
We head up to the bruisers, but I see this wave is pushing pretty close, and I still haven't quite got a full stack of essence, so I go to gather a bit more. And I go to help finish off this camp. The enemy Dehaka shows up with the enemy Illidan, but luckily our Sylvanas had Bolt of the Storm and she's able to walk away. But here I use my essence as well as my adaptation to stand and fight. Fortunately, I didn't adaptation that Pyroblast, which I think would have been really great. But I think the adaptation gave me just enough of a heal to survive there. So I think it ended up working out. And we ended up getting 3 takedowns. They only lost our KT. And I see them chasing this Asmodan, so I brush stuck her in, and we end up getting a 4th cleanup kill. And we have a Terror, and only 1 hero down compared to their 4. So we go for the finishing blow. The Dehaka drags me, but it's all in vain, because nothing's going to happen from it. So, since we're about to win, I go for the dance. I end up getting isolation for my triple. But, so, I feel like that last adaptation especially was a good use of it. But I think this showcases an alternate build compared to the bruiser build that everybody seems to think is the go-to. I think you can make the tank build work. And even though adaptation's hard to use, if you play Dehaka and you know how to use his other skills, it won't make that big of a detriment if you use adaptation incorrectly. Because his real strength lies in the Brush Stalker and the Drag, and the Dark Swarm and Burrow and Essence. You know, his basic skills. The Heroic just adds on to his abilities. As we can see from the stats, I ended up having a lot of takedowns, and I actually got quite a few last hits. Just a bit less than the Muradin. And my hero damage is okay. It's not super high, but my tanking ended up beating out their Dehaka, and my experience contribution was actually a lot more than him. But we both paled in comparison to this Asmodan, who was just clearing gigantic waves with 1 globe. And that's how he got 336,000 siege damage. So that guy was doing a lot of work. But overall, I think that was a pretty good tank Dehaka. I didn't get my tissue regeneration quite as fast as I wanted. But I felt like I played Dehaka pretty well. And I think the talents I chose, for instance, Feeding Frenzy and Swift Pursuit, I think those make a lot of sense if you're going for a tissue regeneration build. And Adaptation too, of course. And I think you can really make the case that Rapid Regeneration is the better choice if you're going for that type of build. But I just thought Paralyzing Enzymes would be more useful that match. I don't know if it was. And Change's Survival is actually just a fantastic upgrade. Even though it does have to compete with Apex Predator, which is a great skill. But I think if you go for Adaptation, you really need to make the choice. Because I've taken Adaptation and then gone Apex Predator, and it worked out. And that was on Blackheart's Bay, where it's like a big map and you need the mobility. But in this case, I just thought the extra healing would be more beneficial. So that was a couple quick match games and a brief overview of Dehaka. I hope you've taken away something from this, that Dehaka can be played in a multitude of ways. And he can have different builds depending on the situation. And as long as you understand the basic abilities and use them in effective ways, such as Hearthing to heal and then Brush Stalkering to go to lane, instead of using the Fountain all the time, or just Brush Stalkering between lanes without Hearthing, stuff like that. I think you can really tap into his potential. I don't think he's going to be as OP as Zul or Li Ming were on release. I feel like he's probably going to be considered underpowered. But overall, I really like Dehaka. I think he's a very fun hero. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope it was educational. So thank you all for watching. And I will see you later.